Shall we start? The mirage of influence. So this was an article which came in the Indian Express. Sorry, this was in Financial Express. A similar article was there in the Indian Express or Hindu. The cultural ties between India and UK. You might have read that article. But this article, it actually speaks about the concept of orange economy. Have you heard of this term orange economy? So this article particularly discusses about the problems of the orange economy. Orange economy means the creative economy. The YouTubers, the vloggers, okay, they form the part of the orange economy. And why is this economy called as orange? Why is it termed as orange? Orange is the color associated with creativity. Okay, so in 2024 December, in the month Ki Baat, Prime Minister Modi has actually mentioned about this orange economy and the importance that India is giving to this orange economy. So orange economy basically means that sector which harnesses your creativity and talent. Okay, it's the creative economy. So India is focusing more on this creative economy these days. So why are we focusing more on creative economy? What is the major purpose? Why we are focusing more on the creative economy these days? Think. So creative economy means what? It is basically associated with the people, right? It's associated with the entertainment industry. See, where your skills are actually being tapped. You have advertising, architecture, arts, fashion, film, music, photography, publishing, your YouTubers, your social media, all these people, vloggers, all of them, they form part of this creative economy. So India is a growing economy. We have a growing population, right? So that's why this is given more importance these days. And moreover, all that we are focusing on knowledge economies, right? The world is focusing on knowledge economies. Now it is projected that currently $30 billion is produced from the knowledge economy or the creative economy. You know that after the COVID time, what happened? There's a surge in YouTubers. Earlier, education was not online. These days, you can find numerous educational online courses, numerous educational coaching institutes, etc. Right? So, what happened after the pandemic? There was a surge in the online entertainment media, especially around the world. And that's why the world is shifting its focus towards the orange economy. This term orange is very important because you will not find it in any newspapers or it's rarely being used. Okay, it's an informal term, but you can actually use it in your answer writing. The term which is more used is knowledge economy or the term creative economy. Okay. Now it is valued at USD 30 billion, employing approximately 8% of the working population. It creates influence-based consumption. What is mean by influence-based consumption? You watch a lot of reels, right? Girls might be watching a lot of clothing reels, textile related reels, beauty reels, even men also. See, earlier you were not familiar with most of the products which was available in the market. Now you know. Before buying a product, what do? You would actually go through the reviews, right? Before buying a vehicle, you would read the reviews. You'll watch a lot of, see, reading reviews is also decreased these days. You're watching more of reels. You're watching more of YouTube review videos, right? So this influences your consumption pattern. Your consumption is actually decided by who? The social media reviews, isn't it? You get to know most of the news happening around your locality from the social media, not from the newspapers. You will read newspapers for the national or international news, but more of the local news you get from the social media. So this is how social media is influencing your consumption pattern and your creativity, your knowledge, your talent. So that induces a kind of consumption in the economy. That is what is called as influence-based consumption. So this influence-based consumption is also increasing in the economy. Now, How do we use it as a soft power? What is soft power? Soft power is, you might have seen when leaders, they visit our country or our leaders visit another country, what do we give them as gifts? We give something that is traditionally being manufactured in our country. For example, if somebody comes from, if Tamil Nadu Chief Minister visits Kerala, we would give Aramula Kannadi, we would give Kadagali, the mask Kadagali, something like that. Something that is something that is very particular to our state. Similarly, if our Prime Minister goes to other countries, we would give some geographically indication products which have geographical indication. Geographical indication we will also study in this class itself, which can be produced only within the geographical territory, that have a particular, that cannot be produced anywhere, and that cannot be, that is patented to that particular area. Those products are called as products which have geographical indication tags. So these products are often being gifted to other countries, and they act as what? They act as a symbol of soft powers. For example, you know that movies, these days there are people, you watch a lot of Korean movies, right? Korean dramas, Korean movies. Our movies are uh, also being released all around the world. So these movies and all, they act as soft power. Hard power is actually the visible thing, the visible part of the diplomacy. You sent your ambassadors, you would attend all their if you are being invited to attend a conference in your in a foreign land, you would attend that. The formal forms of diplomacy that you always see, you can, that which you can see, they are called as hard power diplomacy. Soft power means in a very soft manner, like through your gift, through your movies, through your entertainment sector. These are known as soft power. So this actually, yoga is a soft power diplomacy. It's a part of a soft power diplomacy. Why? We initiated, yoga originated in India. We initiated the concept of yoga, and now yoga being popularly uploaded by the world. So yoga acts as a soft power diplomacy for India. We are attracting people to know about our culture through yoga. So this is one example for the soft power. So here also, this creative economy, because we are the largest population in the world right now, this creative economy or this orange economy is acting as a part of our soft power. Our media and entertainment industry is currently the 5th largest in the world. Government of India is setting up $1 billion for the promotion of creative economy, and 390 crores for the establishment of Institution of Indian Creative Technology. We are planned to establish this. We haven't established. Okay, the government has actually allocated funds in the budget. So that is, government is formalizing this concept of creative economy. Now the article, it was talking about, so this is all about the creative economy or the orange economy. So this article particularly talks about the problems associated with the orange economy. So can you think of any particular problems? I told you that orange economy consists of people, orange economy consists of the entertainment, mostly the entertainment area, mostly where your skills and talent are being harnessed. So can you think of any particular problem of this orange economy? I told you that they also include what? Social media influences. They also include your YouTubers, bloggers, all of them are part of this. So now think of a particular criticism for this orange economy. What could be a problem for this orange economy? Misinformations, yes. Then so here it actually talks about the Gen Z youth choosing the creative economy as their principal ambition and shift from their traditional ambitions. See, you know that when you were in school, your parents wanted you to be doctors, engineers. See, all of you are different. That's why you are here. But if you see the people of your generation, what do they do mostly? They are more into social media. They are giving less importance to education. Now they are more focused on gaining popularity, harnessing their skills. This actually helps in bridging the rural-urban divide. Earlier, these amenities were available only in the urban areas. So now this helps to bridge that gap between the rural and the urban India. But at the same time, the problem is that unnecessary importance is given to, or overdue of over importance given to what? Popularity rather than education. See, social media or this monetizing your skills can never be an alternative for formal education. But that's the shift. If you say that these days students are actually more focusing on distant education rather than going to college. During our time, it was not like that. Nobody would prefer to have a distant education. If distant education is being, if we are going for it, it will be only parallel to the course that we are doing. It will not be an alternative for the major course that we are undertaking at a college. But these days, there's a shift in that. Why this shift happened? Because people know that there is no point in getting education because job opportunities are very less in the country. That is one major problem. Another thing is that what is social media focuses on? You particularly advertise on this YouTube, right? YouTube or TikTok or Instagram. These are private organizations. So their primary objective is profitability. So they would only popularize those videos that would gain them more viewership. The welfare measures, the government policies are not given importance over there. So even negative videos would also gain popularity. Negative videos will also gain what? Will be also be monetized. That will also generate income in the economy. Okay, so this is also another problem of the, this is also, the article talks about that as well. Another problem is that you might have the skill. You might have the skill, you might have the talent, but your videos may not reach the targeted audience. Why? Maybe because of the advertisement problem, maybe because that you are not well versed with the technical aspects of this. So even if you have the skills or even if you have the talent, that will not be catered to the needs of the society. So that is another problem that they talk about. So have this in mind. You will get to hear more about these things in the coming classes, in the coming articles also, because now the world has been shifting towards a creative economy or a digital economy. A similar article was there in the newspaper which talks about India-UK cultural ties. This was also to be read. It, never in the article, nowhere there in the article it talks about the it talks about the creative economy or the term orange economy, but that article should also be read in the context of creative economy. So any those cultural ties between countries that comes under this topic of creative economy. Okay, that's why this is important. Poverty levels now at historic lows. A need to revisit food and fertilizer subsidy. This was also an article which came up in the Indian Express. It talks about the economic status of India's poverty, India's reforms, and what are the requirements that the food and fertilizer sector in the Indian economy needs. Now, what happens is that we are giving a lot of subsidies on food and fertilizers, which is costing a lot of money on our public exchequer and increasing our fiscal deficit. Okay, so this article primarily talks about that. And this article, it came in the context of our poverty rates have declined. We are actually having a historic low of 5.5% of poverty these days. So with 5.5% historic low levels of poverty, do we actually require such a huge amount of subsidies on food and fertilizer? That's the debate here. Now, free food grains are given to 800 million people. You know that in Kerala also, in all over India, for a matter of fact, we have ration cards, right? Everyone, those belong to the APL or BPL category, we would get subsidized food grains. But those belong to APL, do they actually require subsidized food grains? No. So that is actually costing a huge amount of money on our public exchequer. Yes. 84% of households within ration cards, rural Gini coefficient improved. What is Gini coefficient? Gini coefficient is actually a measure of inequality. Okay, it measures from 0 to 1. So now it has increased from 0.266 to 0.237, which means that our inequality have reduced. Okay, inequality have reduced. The the poor and the rich gap has been reduced. Food subsidy is around 2.03 lakh crores. Fertilizer subsidy is 1.56 crores. So what are the problems associated with putting fertilizers. This is one problem. Subsidy is one problem. Another problem is the fertilizer. When fertilizers are being subsidized, what happens? People would buy, farmers would buy more of those subsidies. And when it comes to fertilizers, we are following an informal control regime, which means that the maximum profit, we do not have any control regime over fertilizers, the fertilizers that can be used. The only fertilizer that is being controlled is urea. Okay, so we have been following a maximum profit mechanism. Maximum profit mechanism is, suppose 5% is the maximum profit that can be, suppose 5% is the maximum profit that you can establish on a fertilizer. Okay, and the cost of producing that fertilizer is rupees 100, which means that you can impose only 105 rupees as the price of the fertilizer. So here the government is actually not capping the price, they are capping the subsidies, maximum profit that can be established on a particular maximum profit mechanism. The maximum profit that can be established on a particular fertilizer. And urea is the only controlled fertilizer which is, and this has actually helped. Why was urea the only controlled fertilizer? Because urea is one fertilizer which is being hugely adopted by the farmers. Okay, it is usually used by the farmers, and moreover the cost of producing urea is less when compared to other fertilizers. So if the cost of producing urea is rupees 100 and the farmers would pay, see, this is the price of urea. The price of urea is rupees 100 and the cost of producing urea would be 40 rupees. In that case, the remaining 60 rupees would be given by the government as subsidy. This is what is called as fertilizer subsidy, and that was given only to urea. And now the problem is that there is a huge use of urea as the fertilizer, and this has actually led to soil acidification. The content of urea in the soil has increased, which actually declined the pH value of the soil. And moreover, water percolation declines, which means that the ability of the soil to absorb the water, the groundwater, that has declined. And it has also led to eutrophication. Eutrophication is what? Because of the increase in the utilization of the chemical fertilizers in the agriculture sector, these runoff waters, they go to the rivers or the river bodies, and then they causes an increase in the algal bloom because of increase in the nutrients like phosphorus and nitrogen. Okay, so this causes what? Phosphorus is the main element which is responsible for eutrophication. People would make a mistake there. They are confused whether it is nitrogen, it's phosphorus for eutrophication. So where do they get the phosphorus from? From the fertilizers which is being used in the agriculture sector. And what happens due to eutrophication? Algal blooms happens. You might have seen, like, invasive plant species. So what happens is that they declines the dissolved oxygen content of the water. അങ്ങനെ താഴെയുള്ള zooplanktonsiന് oxygen and sunlight കിട്ടാതെ വരും, and they die off. This is how it affects it. Okay. Now, why do we require the reforms in this fertilizer sector? One is that blanket subsidies fiscally inefficient with extreme poverty falling. We have our extreme poverty levels falling over a decade now, and but we have not reformed our subsidies or our food sector. Because of what? Because of which we are facing a huge fiscal deficit, especially in the food and fertilizer sector. This food processing and fertilizer industries, they are very important for your means. Okay, every year you will have questions from this sector. And then we are giving blanket subsidies without considering the need and requirements. What is ghost beneficiaries? Without checking if the people actually is alive or not. Okay, sometimes in a family, you may be entitled to get only fertilizers or food subsidy per person. But sometimes the people who are died in the family, their names might have not been, eliminated from the ration cards. They would also get food. They would also get the entitled grains. So this is known as ghost beneficiaries, the people who are actually not present, but who are not, like, they are not being accounted. Nutrition gaps, we give more of cereals, like what are the commodities which are usually being distributed from the public ration shops or the public distribution centers? Rice, wheat, these grains, right? So there is a less focus on the protein, dals. These days, dals are also being given, but still the micronutrient aspects are not given importance. We are more focused on the grains. Fertilizer imbalance, overuse of urea is damaging the soil health, as I mentioned before. Now, fiscal pressure, the subsidies are crowding out capital investment. See, when the government is focusing more on subsidies, when the government is focusing more on the welfare, such welfare measures, what happens? It reduces the government's money, which can be invested in other sectors. Okay, so this is what which is happening in India right now. Now, then that's one reason why we require reforms in the fertilizer and the food sectors. Gaining clean tech edge. This is also a, I primarily included this article because for two reasons. One is to familiarize you with certain one of some of these terms. Another reason is that India is actually performing really well in this climate technologies. Okay, the world is looking forward to India for many of these technology-wise, many of our initiatives. So it is well appreciated around the world, and that's one reason why I have included this. And at the end of the session, there are two main practice questions also. Please try to write it. Okay, we'll discuss that in the next class. You can write it and give it to me, or can email me, whatever is convenient for you. I'll read it out. I'll read it, and I'll also give you a mock answer, a model answer for that. Okay. So, what is green tech, clean tech, climate tech? All these terms, it seems very similar, but they are slightly different. Green technology means what? The tech, and that's why they have included the examples over here. Okay. These examples are important for you to understand what these terms are. Green technology, what is it? It uses the science and technology to harness the world's natural resources. For example, renewable energy, sustainable agriculture, eco-friendly products. So it's about the technology that you actually uses to harness this natural resources, to reduce negative environmental impact on the human activity. These are the broader terms. Green technology is the broader term. Now, what are the technologies that you use to harness these green technologies? That is what is called as clean technology. Okay. There you have the solar panels, the renewable energy. Solar panels comes under that. The wind turbines, recycling programs. How can you make this, make these technologies clean? How can you make this less impactful to the environment? That is what is meant by clean technology. Improves the performance and efficiency while reducing negative environmental impact. Includes solutions for clean energy, wastewater treatment. All this comes under clean wastewater treatment, waste management, and more. All of this comes under clean technology. So basically, these are all this is the broad term, and this comes under this broad term. Okay, green technology is the way how you utilizes the natural resources in a more environment friendly manner. Now the technology that can use to lessen the impact which it has for the environment. Climate technology is the technologies that you adapt to mitigate the effects of climate change. Mitigate means avoid or to reduce the effects of climate change. Carbon capture, electric vehicles, sustainable infrastructure. You'll have this in your notes. Okay. Now, this was actually the article. How this clean technology, what is the role of clean technology in India's economic development? It creates 5 to 6 million jobs. How does it create 5 to 6 million jobs? You know about International Solar Alliance, which is initiated by India. Now, more than 100 countries are part of this International Solar Alliance. International Solar Alliance is very important because India has initiated it. On the lines of Paris Climate Change Convention, we have initiated in 2015, 16. 16 we have established it, 2015. After the convention on 2015, we established it. So Paris conference, climatic conference, that was in 2015, and that is also important. Okay, so and that is the reason, and our climate change journey is started from 2016 with the establishment of this International Solar Alliance. Job creation, we have been focusing more on what? Solar energy, wind energy. I told you about the semiconductor special economic zone relaxation last time. So what are we focusing on? We are focusing on generating more semiconductor industries or semiconductors in India. All this will create what? Will create jobs. Energy security, we are we are reliant more on imported fossil fuels. Okay, so to reduce that, technological innovation, to store this clean energy, we require what? More of hydrogen cells. Hydrogen cells is also one of the growing climatic hydrogen is hydrogen. Okay, hydrogen cells, hydrogen mission, we are focusing more on these terms these days. Okay, uh, so to store this climatic energy, sorry, climatic technology, we require more of these kind of infrastructure also. Global supply chains, India is becoming a manufacturing hub of renewable energy consumption. Solar PV modules. See, with the solar energy, we are actually, I told you that now more than 100 countries are part of this International Solar Alliance. More than 100 countries are part of International Solar Alliance. So we are actually exporting this PV modules also. Photovoltaic, PV is solar photovoltaic modules. So we are trying to become a global supply chain for solar energy. China plus one strategy. China plus one strategy is, these days, the world is heavily reliant on China for its energy requirements. Other than the petroleum products mostly comes from which countries? The Arab nations and the Russia. And also the shell energy from, shell oil from USA. Other than this, the world is heavily reliant on what? On China. For our fossil fuel needs, for our lithium batteries, for our semiconductors, we are heavily reliant on China. So the world is actually trying to see another alternative for China. That is what is called as China plus one strategy. And that one, India is trying to be that one country here. Okay, we are trying to be an alternative for China for the world. We can actually become one because we are leading in the climatic technologies these days. We are more focused on the solar energy. That is one of our drawbacks because we do not have much infrastructure to harness the wind and other forms of energy, wind and tidal energy. We are focused more on the solar energy, but even then we are actually achieving our targeted goals of renewable energies. Circular economy, sustainable solutions. Circular economy is a very important concept. Circular economy means what? You're recycling the waste back into the economy to produce it. Waste recycle. Circular economy means what? You're producing a product, waste is generated, that waste is again recycled and brought back into the economy as product inputs or productive resources. So that is, they offer us sustainable solutions for the waste management and recycling. Urban sustainability, it reduces more of energy demands, mitigates pollution, because more of green technology would reduce pollution. India is one country which is mostly affected by the air pollution, you know that, right? So to reduce the pollution effects, these words are very important. Okay, instead of reducing air pollution, try to use this mitigating air pollution. These are very formal words which are used in this context. Reduce environmental and sustainable solutions. These are terms which you can use in your answers also. Reduce environmental health impacts, improves public health by reducing pollution. Basically, the focus is on what? Reducing the pollution and also become a global supply chain. Now, what are the problems associated with green technology in India? One is that we are heavily dependent on the raw materials, imported raw materials, as I said. The lithium. lithium for the batteries that we use in our cars, the silicon for our semiconductor industries, the rare earth elements for our wind turbines. These are for all this we are heavily dependent on China. So this is one major drawback. We do not have enough raw materials which is required for the clean technology under the green technologies. Technological gaps. We have hydrogen mission, we have solar alliances, but we do not have enough infrastructure which is required to harness these sources of energies. Insufficient infrastructure, we do not have enough technology also. We import that technology as well. From Japan, from China, we import the technology also to produce these. High capital expenditure, you know, the one major problem of these green solutions is that they are highly costly. They are capital intensive sectors. Lack of skilled workforce. This mainly happens in the assembling process. Okay. Manufacturing process, assembling also comes under that. EV battery assembling, silicon conductor assembling. So that's why if you are seen, Apple products are mostly, Apple is a US company. But the Apple is actually, the products of Apple are being assembled in which country? China. So all the products that you buy, whether you buy it in USA, whether you buy it in India, whether you buy it in Germany, it all comes from, it is assembled in China. So one problem that we faces is in the assembling sector. We do not have the enough skilled workforce to assemble this electronic things. Limited market demand. This is also a major problem. If you have seen, when there's electric vehicles were introduced, government used to give subsidies. That's why you get to see a lot of electric auto rickshaws. But these days what happens, even when petrol price is rising, but you would still buy a petrol vehicle, right? Would you buy a electric vehicle these days? You would buy, but the demand has actually fallen, right? Demand has actually fallen. You would actually make a cost benefit analysis, and the subsidy, the government has taken back the subsidies which was given for this electric vehicles. So now the subsidies are also not given. So now the people have shifted again back to the petrol vehicles, petrol and diesel vehicles. So that is one major reasons for electric vehicle. For solar panels, you know that LED lights would take less energy, but still you would buy more of the other two bulbs, like LCD bulbs. Why? Because it is more brighter. Battery storage issues, you would still go for something that offers you a long-term storage rather than all this clean initiatives, clean technologies. So this is one major problem in India, because we are not adapted to using all this clean technology, green technology. The government tried to introduce it, but again there was a shift back to the original ones.